always securely placed to hold a falling leader or second. For trad climbing, you will have a lot of gear to carry, as you'll be arranging your own protection on the climb. Sport climbing is, by comparison, relatively lightweight. Your protection devices are clipped to gear loops on the harness in a structured order. This is because, as you learn how to place gear, you'll almost certainly need a couple of attempts to select the right piece of kit to fit a particular crack size, so it's handy grouping similar sizes together. Here we see wedge-shaped nuts on wire grouped together in similar sizes, with each group attached to one carabiner and clipped onto the gear loop. Rock-centric nuts are also grouped in size and carried in a similar way. Camming devices are carried on individual carabiners as they are slightly more fiddly to use and each has a wide size range. The quick draws are grouped together near the front of the harness and are split evenly on each side of the body. You will use these to attach the rope to protection devices when you place them as running belays. All your other gear can be carried around the back of the harness. Slings are best carried with the two ends clipped together. To release them, simply unclip the end from the carabiner. This method makes them much easier to detach from your body when you're hanging on with one hand. For sport climbing, you will only need quick draws and a screw gate carabiner. The quick draws are ideally split evenly on each side, and all gates face the same way so that you can release them without having to look down. Some climbers carry a sling with them on sports climbs, and for convenience this could be tied up and clipped to the back of the harness rather than having it around your shoulders. Your chalk bag should be looped onto a belt around your waist so that it can slide from side to side. Once your gear is racked up and you've checked that all the knots and screw gate carabiners are tight, you can ensure that your belayer has you safely on belay and proceed up the climb. To get a good placement for a wedge-shaped nut, you need to find a crack that tapers, so that downward loading tightens it in the crack. Choose a nut size that provides ample scope for wedging tighter. If the nut is too small, it may slip through the crack. The rock-centric nut, shown here, can be placed in wedge-shaped cracks, but can also be put into roughly parallel-sided cracks, where a twisting action will tighten the nut into the crack when it's under load. Camming devices, such as the Friend, are ingenious. Each of the 4 cams operates independently of the others. To place a cam, squeeze the trigger so that the cams are closed. Place it in the crack and release the trigger gradually. Each cam should bite against the sides of the crack. When a load is placed on the sling, the cams will be pulled into the rock, making it an even tighter fit. Don't place a cam into a crack where the cams are completely closed or almost fully open. You may find flakes of rock over which you can place a sling for protection. If you're placing a sling around a large flake or block, make sure that it's not stretched too tightly, as this reduces the overall strength of the sling. If placing a sling around a small flake, make sure it's a solid part of the rock face. You might also find a place where you can thread a sling through a hole or around a jammed rock in a crack. This is called a thread. Be sure to check carefully for sharp edges that might damage or break the sling when it's subjected to a severe shock load. To select a nut to place in a crack, pick a bunch from your harness that you think is the right size. Select one and try it in the crack. If it doesn't seem to fit well, try another size. Once you are happy with the placement, unclip the chosen one from the bunch. To connect your rope to the piece of gear, take a quick draw off your harness, clip it to the nut, and then clip the rope in. Using the quick draw in this way offers a pivot point for the attachment, and this reduces the risk of the nut being pulled out as you move up and away from it. For protection devices that are already attached to a sling, such as the rock-centric, you may decide to just clip the rope to the sling with a carabiner. The suppleness of the sling reduces leverage on the nut placement. It is a similar thing with camming devices. When you place a piece of gear, be it a nut or a camming device, seat it well with a solid downward tug. Develop a good system for clipping the rope into quick draws. Ensure that all your quick draws are set up in the same way with gate openings identical on each. A rule of thumb that can be applied to most situations is that the gate of the carabiner that you clip the rope into should face away from the direction of travel. Apply the same principles when you clip into a bolt on a sport climb. When you arrive at the end of the pitch, you'll need to make yourself secure to the rock so that you can bring up the second. Some climbs may have an anchor point built into the face, but if not, you'll need to use natural features such as trees, solid flakes of rock, or threaded slings. This climb has 2 bolts fixed into the face. Take a sling and attach it to the first bolt, screwing the carabiner up tight. Take a second carabiner and attach it to the second bolt, looping the sling through. Tie an overhand knot in the sling and attach the third carabiner to the loop. Tie your rope to this carabiner with a clove hitch and move into position at the top of the climb. Once you've anchored yourself safely at the top of the pitch, you'll be in a position to belay your second. Once both leader and second have climbed the first pitch and you are both together with the second tied to the anchor, there'll be a bit of organising to do. You may decide that the second will now become the leader for the next pitch. This is called leading through or swapping leads. The new leader will have to sort out the rack. Some of it will have been collected on the way up, but the rest will need to be swapped over and racked up neatly. Once done, he or she can set off. If you are not swapping leads, the process is a little more complex. Firstly, secure the second to the anchor before you take the rope out of the belay device. Get the second comfortably and safely positioned on the stance. Now sort out the rack and make sure it's in the same place on the harness as when you set off from the bottom. While the leader is doing this, the second can run the rope through, so that the leader's end of the rope will run smoothly from the top of the pile. When the leader is ready and the rope has been run through, the second can put the leader's rope into the belay device. You are then ready to set off in much the same way as you were on the ground. So remember, you must understand the principles of sound gear placement, as this forms the core of the safety chain. Take time to practice gear placements and arrange anchor points. And make sure that you understand the process of leading the climb, especially if climbing a multi-pitch route. Once you've made your ascent, there is one final challenge: to get back down. In most cases, you can simply walk around the back of the crag to return to the bottom of the face, but sometimes you'll need to abseil back down. You can use your belay device to abseil. To reach the bottom of the crag and retrieve your rope, you'll need to abseil down in stages that are just less than half the length of the rope. This could be quite time-consuming, so climbers tend only to descend by abseil if they're climbing with 2 ropes. Loop the rope around or through an anchor point so that when you reach the bottom of the rope and need to retrieve it, you can pull one end and the rope will slide smoothly through. Thread both ropes through the belay device and clip both loops into an HMS carabiner attached to your harness belay loop. Screw the locking sleeve up tight. A safety backup can be arranged using a French prusik loop. Wrap the loop around the controlling rope and clip it into the screw gate carabiner, which is attached to the leg loop of your harness. The belay device is operated in the same way as when lowering a climber down the crag. The tighter the angle, the more friction is generated. The safety backup French prusik will lock onto the rope if you inadvertently let go. When you are doing multiple abseil descents, you'll need to make sure that you secure yourselves to the rock using a sling to an anchor point. All sports climbs are equipped with a lower off anchor. You may be lucky and find that all that's required is to clip the rope into the lower off carabiner and be lowered back to the ground. Unfortunately, not all lower offs are quite so simple. 2 anchor points may be linked together by a chain and a large steel mailon used as the lower off point. Another type of lower off is shown here. Both the anchor bolts must be used to lower off. The technique for lowering off this type is the same as for the chain and mailon lower off. On arrival at the lower off, clip yourself via a sling to either part of the lower off anchor. Reach down and pull up a big length of your climbing rope. Thread this through both points of the lower off. It will be a double loop of rope, so it may need some pushing through the double bolts or single mailon. When you have done this, tie a figure-of-8 knot on the bight in the loop of the rope and clip this into the belay loop of your harness with a screw gate carabiner. Screw the gate up securely. You then untie from the end of the rope and pull it through the lower off so that it dangles down below you. A quick check to see the carabiner is screwed up and it's clipped to the belay loop of your harness, and you can instruct your belayer to take your weight. Once they have you safely back on belay, pull yourself up towards the anchor and release the sling that secured you temporarily. Shout down that you're ready to go and you can be lowered back to the ground. So remember, knowing how to safely descend the climb is just as important as understanding the principles of safe ascent. And take extra care when abseiling, because more climbing accidents occur going down than they do going up. Now it's up to you. You've learned how to operate climbing equipment, balance and move across rock, and how to tackle the different features you will encounter on the rock face. The rewards of climbing are at your fingertips, so what are you waiting for? Go climb!
Sailing is probably unique among sports because it is so varied in the ways it can be experienced, and because it can be enjoyed by just about anyone. This DVD will show you the key skills to get you started and give you the confidence to get out on the water. From the basics of going afloat through to capsize recovery, spinnakers and trapeze sailing, you will see professionals demonstrate the techniques and discover how each manoeuvre is broken down in graphic detail. It won't take you long to master these skills, and you will soon be enjoying the freedom, exhilaration and the sheer pleasure of sailing a boat that's propelled solely by the power of the wind.
Tennis is a fantastic sport that can be enjoyed at any age. It keeps you fit, it's very social, and most of all, it's fun. This DVD will show you the key skills to get you started and give you the confidence to enjoy the game. From the basics through to advanced play, footwork and game strategy, you can watch and follow players demonstrating great techniques in easy-to-learn steps. Master these skills and you will soon become a formidable opponent on the court.
Golf is played and watched by millions of people of all ages around the world, and it's regarded as the one truly global sport. Played competitively or just socially, it can be enjoyed by people of all ages and abilities, and there are few sports which can boast such spectacular surroundings. This DVD and accompanying book will help you learn the basic techniques needed to get started, as well as giving you useful tips and pointers. From driving to bunkers to sinking putts, you'll see top professionals demonstrating the art of the game, with key moments broken down in graphic detail. Once you start to master these skills, you'll soon be shooting lower and lower rounds and really enjoying everything the game of golf has to offer.